Hi, everyone, and welcome back to A Conversation With. Today, I have a very special guest, a very good friend of mine, Rahima Amiraly. She is a change maker. I don't know how else to describe her. She's a teacher in Dubai, and she works with special needs kids. And she's actually founder of Rising Stars Dubai, which we're going to actually get into, where she's really bringing about an important topic of inclusivity and really trying to see people for who they are rather than what they don't have. Is that a good way to explain it, I guess? Yeah.
That was great.
So welcome, Rahima. You're joining us from Dubai.
Yeah, thank you, Jan, and thank you for that lovely introduction. To call me a change maker, I mean, I hope I can make, even a bit of change. But yeah, I'm really excited. I know we were just having a chat about how cold it is there in Calgary, and then I'm sat here in sunny Dubai. But then, we always want what's on the other side. So I would love to be in the snow right now. But yeah, thank you. I'm excited to talk about my journey and what I'm doing with Rising Stars. So yeah, this is great.
Excellent. So first of all, you're one of the first females on the actual podcast, so that's exciting. But yeah, we met in 2016 in Dubai when I was there for the Jubilee Games, and then we saw each other again at Diamond Jubilee in Lisbon. And in between there, we've of course kept in touch. And, I've watched you and your journey and how you've been this teacher for years and years. And then you actually founded this organization. So let's start from day kind of zero and tell me, so you're originally from London and you studied in London?
Yeah, so I'm from London, born and raised in London. Obviously, originally, I have a mixed background of mainly Pakistani and some Omani roots in there. But yes, I was born and raised in London, and I have always loved working with children. At the same time, I had a massive interest, which I know you know about, of being in the performing arts, dancing and acting. And it was always something I really kind of felt was a great escapism for me, as it is for many people when they have a passion. But growing up in this kind of background and not really sure where I wanted to go. Also, acting wasn't something that I saw a lot of my friends go into. So I kind of went down the route of teaching, but always was a very fun, I tried to be a fun, I hope my students say that I was a fun, creative, kind of always made the lessons more interesting, thinking outside of the box sort of thing. But again, I never felt fully kind of satisfied in that element of teaching, of just being a teacher. I always thought something was lacking, and then I fell in love with working with kids with disabilities, because I think mixed in with the love for the performing arts and then seeing children with disabilities not always have that place in the classroom to feel included, as we say, which I know is changing now. I kind of thought, you know what, this is something that I want to explore more of. And I had an incident with a beautiful young girl called Zafira one day in our community hall, as we say, or we call it Jumat Khana. And she was in front of me. I was only very young, maybe about 15, 16. And she was in front of me. She was getting quite agitated. She wanted to I can kind of tell she just wanted to leave the hall. So I said to her, Mom, can I help you, Auntie? And she was like, no, but I'm fine, I'm okay. So I was like, no, I don't mind. And the next minute she turns around and she literally pulls my hair, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm taken aback. And her mum's like, oh my goodness, are you okay? The volunteer there said, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, I'm fine, it's okay. I could see this young girl who's only a couple of years younger than me, was flustered and really emotional. And she was having a full-blown tantrum, and everyone was watching. And I was more concerned about her than what was happening to me. I mean, I was fine. And then I literally just took her hand, and without her mum's permission, I was like, come on, let's go. I need to help you. And then from that moment, I made friends with her mother, Yasmin Auntie. She's like my second mother. And then from that minute onwards, she always used to push me into going into this field. She'd like, you're naturally very good with these students, so look at your talent and look at what you've got and look at what these kids need, and you naturally just love them. And I do. I naturally just feel a closeness to them more than probably what I have with, as we put, mainstream children.
Okay.
And that's kind of how meeting Zafira led me into it. And that kind of gap that I told you I had of not knowing where to kind of place myself in a career, that kind of started growing from there.
Amazing. So how long have you been a teacher, and then how long have you been a teacher with like special needs children?
So I've actually been teaching in Dubai now for 8 years.
Wow.
It goes so quickly. It's been 8 years. I was meant to start off with 2, but then, as you know, you fall in love with the sun, the tax-free lifestyle, and the high-quality lifestyle. You mean, I'm sorry, not making anyone jealous here, but you know, it's a great life. I feel very blessed to be here. So it's been 8 years in Dubai, and then about 7 in the UK. So quite a long time.
Wow. So then you came to Dubai, and then you started working with children of special needs right away, or
No.
was that something you transitioned into?
Yeah, I transitioned into it because, as I mentioned, I always found it a bit difficult to kind of get into it. And, you know, I say this to everyone, of course you need a lot of love and a lot of patience, but you also do need to have that kind of understanding of what you're doing in this field, as with any industry.
Right.
So I worked with mainstream children first
Okay.
in Dubai, but every year I get kind of like, you know, that feeling of this doesn't feel what I should be doing.
Yeah.
So then in the UK, I worked in like 2 special needs schools, and then in Dubai, I worked in a school out here, and then literally after 2 years, I was like, I have to go work in a centre. So that's
Yeah.
when I started the Dubai Centre for Special Needs.
Amazing.
Yeah, and it's probably one of my favorite times in my career, Dijan. Honestly, I loved it. They had the most wonderful students there. I also felt, because even though Dubai is very good with education in comparison to the other countries in the Arab world, they still had things that I felt like I could come in and change and work with, and also learn from them as well.
Of course.
But yeah, so yeah, so it's been over like 12 years now, 12, 13 years I'm in this. Oh, more than that. God, my maths is terrible. Yeah.
It's been a few years. It's been a few years.
It's quite a long time, yeah.
Are your students still with you from like a few years back? How does the center system work? Like, is it different age groups, different needs?
For example, in this center, we had students who'd be in like the more functional classes or the skill-based classes, or those students who have profound multiple learning difficulties. They'd be in the sensory age range.
Okay.
So I always had a problem with that, because I'd always think, why did they also need to be separated within a special needs school? Hence, that kind of led me to starting Rising Stars.
Okay.
Because why do the high functioning students need to be together, and then why do those with, you know, severe learning difficulties need to be together? And that's still the same case now. Like in the UK, they're more inclusive. They have students more with different needs in the classes.
Okay.
And just today in society, you know, like, you wouldn't separate adults, right? Just because of their nationality. I mean, I know it happens, of their nationality or their abilities. I just feel like I felt that was wrong. For those students, I kept in contact with some of them who've joined Rising Stars. But yeah, the centre still exists. I'm in a new school now. But yeah, I'm always big on kind of that inclusion aspect.
Definitely. And it shows in your work as well, right? So let's talk about Rising Stars. So Rising Stars is an organization you founded, and why don't you tell our listeners and our viewers more about the organization?
Yeah, so as I said, you know, I've always had this love for the performing arts. Never been allowed to have, well, never was allowed to become an actress.
Okay.
I thought, you know what, I'm going to mix the love for the performing arts with the love I have for students with special needs, and looking back now, I'm like, that was the best decision I've ever made. So I put them two together and I said, why don't we start something? Literally, I just had this conversation with one of my friends. I said, let's start something that can get these amazing stars, as I call them, because I hate all these labels, which, you know,
Right.
as you know, I'll talk about. Let's put these amazing stars together and find out what they love to do. So some of them, you know, might love singing or dancing, or even they might have an interest in a sport. I have one student, he's obsessed with history, and it's actually 18th century fashion. He has Asperger's. Yeah, so he's incredible. Alois is his name. He's 26, he's from France. And he just wanted a platform to talk about fashion from the 18th century of England. So it's great. And he even dresses in the attire, as he says. Yeah, amazing. Oh my goodness, you need to interview him. He's fantastic. So so I said, let's put them together and get them to just come on a weekend, maybe after school, or some of them don't go to school, and we'll just find a space and we'll have myself or other friends of mine who have that expertise in dance or acting, or you know, it could be a sport as well. I've got some friends who are like footballers or fitness trainers, and we'll get them to teach them skills and just get them to also have that dialogue of, oh yeah, I love singing, what do you sing, like that's it. Because often, you know, you don't, and you know, this is probably true for even people without special needs, or children without special needs, that they have an interest. And our, you know, especially in our culture, you get parents saying, oh no, forget that, you can't do that, and you know, why do you want to be a dancer? And it still happens. I know times are changing. So I thought, oh my goodness, imagine then for those with disabilities, how difficult it is for them to kind of shine their talent. And that's all Rising Stars is. It's like a initiative for young stars with different disabilities, which we don't really often talk about, to kind of show their talents off, whatever that is, and give them that platform to come and shine and show the world that, okay, I may have autism, I may have Down syndrome, I may be in a wheelchair, I may have another disability, but I'm a great singer, or I'm an amazing, you know, basketball player.
I'm much more than what you see, is basically what you're trying to showcase, right?
I love that. Yeah, I love how you put that. Yeah, much more, because, you know, they don't often, as I always, you know, advocate, they don't get that chance, because you know, and I hate to see this, and I know the families, I know some families, and they're not all like this. There's some families are really trying to kind of help their child or the young adult that they have at home, but they just don't know how. So sometimes I'm like, well, you know, just get him or her to come to one of the Rising Stars classes. We may do a Zumba class, we may just even do a coffee meetup, and in that coffee meetup we've discussed many different things or interests, as I mentioned with Eloise and his interest for 18th century fashion, or
very specific.
Yeah, very specific, but they have things specific.
And that, I think what's so wonderful about it is it's giving them a chance to just be normal, not labeled, not judged, just be normal and like showcase their own passions. And you're giving them that platform. And I think it's such a beautiful thing.
Oh, thank you. And I have just been amazed by the love I've had for Rising Stars. Obviously, as we all know, because of lockdown, we've been in our homes, and it's been tough for a lot of people around the world. But I am so happy that I managed to connect with so many people around the world who really kind of supported what I started. And then I've had a great group of friends and other people, you know, as you know as well, once you start something, the universe just starts to bring people together and align like-minded souls. And so I've got now a group that I speak to in New Jersey, of all places, who run a similar program for young athletes with autism. And they meet. Yeah, so it's just amazing. And so I've made friends with Nikki, who's the founder of it. And it's nice how I'm all the way here in Dubai, he's in New Jersey.
Right.
And we're connecting and having a discussion, but it wouldn't have happened had lockdown not happened.
Right.
So I'm not only just keeping this in Dubai, I'm finding out what people are doing around the world and making friends with stars who live abroad. And oh, it's just amazing, and it's just growing. So what started with just, as with any idea, just, a discussion and let's see how it goes, it's building. And I'm really happy now, even, just discussing this with you, to get this out to people and tell them what we're doing, because it's so important, especially with what's happening in the world. We often forget that these stars do need that place. They need to be heard, and not labeled. No one likes to be labeled. We don't
No,
want
of
to be labeled.
course. People, we're very judgmental, right? So it's like I said, it's a beautiful thing that you're doing, and the fact that you're connecting to so many different organizations, the ripple effect this is having. I don't know if you understand the impact of it, because you've been doing this now, what, 3, 4, 5 years more?
Yeah, I've been doing this for many years, kind of building it, but officially starting in Dubai has only been from January 2020.
Oh, really? Oh, I
Yeah.
thought it was a little bit longer than that. Oh, that's amazing. So you've
Yeah.
come a long way in a year.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, so it had a different name many years ago. It was called One
Okay.
Star Talent, because then I
Okay.
thought everyone
I
could
think
start.
that's what I'm remembering. Okay.
You remember One Star Talent. And then again, and I say this to everyone, when you have a dream or you want to follow something, you naturally sometimes get held back. You have resistance from other people. And so I think I'm also, and I shouldn't be like this, because I show my stars to follow their dreams. But it's a journey. You learn along the way. So I think I stopped and started, and then bang, January of last year, beginning of last year, I was like, I have to do this. And then I started with an event, which, again, with the universe just pushing you towards things once you have the intention. One of my friends said to his friend who was visiting, he was a famous boxer.
I was going to bring him up. I'm glad you did.
It's that film with Brad Pitt. Is it Snatch? I don't know. Where's that film with Brad Pitt? I'll give you the name. But anyways,
Okay.
he's in this film. Scott Welsh is his name. God, if
Okay.
Scott is watching, he'll be like, how did you forget the name, Rahima? But anyways, I know Scott Welsh was in this famous fight scene with Brad Pitt.
Yeah.
And a lot of people remember him. And he's this wonderful soul who heads up WBC Cares in the UK. And he works with army veterans who have lost their limbs, or some of them may have lost their sight, and he teaches them adaptive boxing.
Amazing.
He was visiting, so he was visiting December 2019 to January 2020 with his family. My friend mentioned to him that I do a lot of work with kids with disabilities. Would he be interested in meeting? And I was like, oh my goodness, wow, thank you to one of my friends there who said it to him. My friend said to me, let's make an event. And we called it, and we did.
Yeah.
And all these things have been happening. So we called it Boxing with Determination, because I have to say, in Dubai, people with disabilities are called people of determination. It's a phrase, a shape for everyone to use.
Yeah.
Because special needs or any of these other labels that we've had over the years.
And that's why my intro, I was kind of like, is this what I'm saying correct? Because I don't feel politically correct saying it this way. So I like that.
People with determination. So that's why we called it Boxing with Determination. We literally had about 5 days to put it together. We invited local celebrities, local influencers and athletes. And we went to a gym, and warehouse gym, and we said to them, we want to put this on. They were all for it. This is the great thing about Dubai. They're very open, because in 2019, as you know, we had the year of tolerance. So we put this event on, and press came, and it was incredible. And that kind of pushed me into actually saying, no, you know what, I need to start this. I need to start firstly it was called Rise Events. I didn't want it to be events based. I wanted to be about the kids. So me and my friend who we initially started, we went our separate ways, because something else she wanted to go into, more on the event side and more on the money making side, and I never wanted to do it like that. I wanted to not for profit. and I moved on with Rising Stars, and Boxing with Determination was launched. And
That's,
then last year ended with another boxing event with Amir Khan.
yeah, I saw that and I was like, hey, represent.
I was like, oh my God, am I meant to be like doing something with these young stars and boxing? Because
Yeah,
everyone always asks me in interviews, how come it went down the boxing
yeah.
angle? I was like, it just naturally happened. I didn't, yeah. I mean, it's not like if I'm a boxer or anything. Or I mean,
Have you tried it?
I have tried it. I have tried it because after having the stars involved, Shaz, one of the coaches, he's like, you push the stars every week to try boxing and to do a sport. Why don't you do it, Rahima? It's great.
Yeah.
I must recommend it.
Yeah. No,
But,
kickboxing I used to do. I loved it.
oh, fun.
Yeah, it was good. And then you also had a Zumba event recently too,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So one of my friends, he is an amazing teacher. Like all these teachers who've not had experience with disabilities, they always say to me, but how should I act? What should I do? I was like, all these kids want, I shouldn't just call them kids because I do have adults in the group, but all the stars want, and they'll be like, Miss Rahima, don't say that, but all the stars that I have, they just want energy, the correct
Yeah.
energy around them. So he said, okay, I'll do an inclusive Zumba class. And it was so much fun. Oh my God, you love dancing. You would have loved it. Like the energy was high. I think it was probably the best class because these stars, you know how sometimes even me now, I'm like, oh, I don't know this move. I have to do it like
Yeah.
this. They don't care. They just
Yeah.
have a good time. They have a laugh. And I just think there's such a good example to all of us. Hence why I keep it inclusive. I invite my friends or my people that I work with, the colleagues that I work with, to come and get involved because
Experience.
it's such,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a fun way to start the weekend. And honestly, they don't care about how they look or what moves they do. They're just honestly having a good time.
But I think that's really important. Like, I feel like we could learn a lot from that because I think it's in the last like maybe 5 years where I've like completely stopped caring what people think. Like
Right.
now, even if I trip in public, I'm like, whatever. Like I'll laugh at myself now. You know what I mean? Whereas like in our early 20s, we were like, oh my God, who saw me? That is so embarrassing. And we'll like go hide in our rooms. We can learn so much from them as well. And actually, like I want to mention is that one of the main reasons why what you're doing is so near and dear to my heart is because my uncle, one of my uncles, has Down syndrome, and he's in his late 60s or mid 60s now, and he's doing well, sugar. But he, you know, I've seen him however many years, like 20 some years now. He's been doing different programs, and like the way it's helped him and made him more independent, and I don't even have the word for it, but it's really just so nice to see when they get to be more independent. Simple tasks become so normal for them, whereas before it was constant, like, let's help him, let's do this. And now it's like, well, no, he can do that, right? Because he's become that independent. The fact that you're starting, because you have really young stars in your organization and you're starting off so young, I think it's great because I think it just helps them thrive later in life too, right?
That's
Yeah.
beautiful of your uncle, and it's so nice that your family have been so supportive of him and integrated him so lovingly into your family. Because I often hear, you know, you don't often see where families have that kind of loving support, or that kind of space for them to be themselves. So, and I'd love to meet him one day. I hope, you
Yeah,
know.
I mean, well, COVID, it's kind of hard right now. He was also from a different generation, right? So my grandparents probably weren't as open to send him away or send him into a program. And I don't even know how many programs like this or similar programs existed back then. So my grandmother, bless her heart, she looked after him till the day she passed away, like when she was 80 something years old, right? So my grandparents looked after him. And of course, like my uncles, my aunts, my parents, they all pitched in and like did things. But my grandmother did make him somewhat dependent because she's like, I can do it. I want to do it, because she wants to be protective. And like, and I say that with so much love. Like, she was fantastic. He is who he is because of like my grandparents and everything. But it's nice to see that programs like this are coming about, and I like that you're pushing it and showing it. These aren't people we should put to the side. We need to bring them into like our everyday lives, because they are just people at the end of the day. They're not much different from us, and we just have to be just a little bit more understanding and a little bit more kinder, and that's it.
That's it. And you know what, you said that so rightly, so like in terms of we need to be more understanding. We learn from them how to be better
Absolutely.
human beings,
Yeah.
because honestly I've seen a change in my friends just in our little group that we have in Dubai, because you know I can't do it all by myself, and I've been so blessed to have friends to come to the Zumba classes, to just help with the music, or
Yeah.
help with, you know, just assisting some of them sometimes, or just even, I'm just like, just dance, because, you know, I don't want to have just them in the front row, the stars.
Right.
I want them to feel like, oh, look, you know, one of my friends is Amelie, she's having fun, or Moyne is having fun, and they then feel like, you know, they do their little
They're
fist
just a
bump,
part of
like,
it.
they're
Yeah.
just a part of it. And then I can see afterwards that the people that have come
Mm-hmm.
and have volunteered, like my friend circle or colleagues of mine, they're like, oh, you know, that was great. When's the next
Mm-hmm.
meetup? Or this is wonderful that you do that. And I'm just like, oh my goodness, for me, this is just what I need, because I'm also selfish in that sense, where I think if I'm not around them, I don't feel enough kind of love that day,
Yeah.
because and I'm like, I need to be around the stars more than I need to be around people, normal people.
Yeah. Yeah.
To me, they're because you know they're non-judgmental, they're loving. If they're upset,
They're
you'll
so
know.
loving. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and they don't hide anything. And I think
No.
the people, you know, these days, and as complex and complicated as human beings are, for me, I just find them really innocent. As you know, you probably see with your
Very
uncle as
innocent. Yeah.
well, and you follow some of the stars journeys that we've got, and I'm just like, oh, you know what? It's just so nice to see this, and you know, I have a lot more that I want to do,
Yeah.
but it is very beautiful that I've started, and I'm just really, really excited to be on this journey and to see what more we can do for the stars, and what platform, because it's not easy kind of, as you know, making change for anything. I know
Absolutely.
you do a lot with, you know, rescuing the animals, and I love what you do, and you're posting about these animals that need homes or have been abused, and I'm just like, you know, it's the same concept. You want people to change what they're doing, their
The
behaviors,
mindset. Yeah.
or you're raising awareness about these innocent animals or people that shouldn't be treated like this now in 2021. But this is the world we live in. There's a lot.
Let's go back and let's talk a little bit about, you know, growing up in a South Asian culture and South Asian household, and like how your parents react, because a lot of what this series is and why I
Yeah,
started it is I didn't have people like us to look up to growing up, right? I only had the doctors and the dentists and all the traditional career paths. So when I changed my degree first year of uni, my parents were kind of like, what's happening? Like, what are you doing? They were very supportive, and I was lucky, but why? Like, what are you doing? And I didn't know what I was doing. I just love marketing, and I'm going to figure it out. So how did your parents react to the whole, like, teaching is still a profession, but when you were telling them, okay, I want to work with people that, you know, are more special, then how did they react, and what was your experience like?
well, go you firstly for, you know, going for the marketing degree. That's fantastic. Well done. I love that. You know, I know you're fantastic in what you do now, so I'm glad you did that. And then look, this has led you to these conversations we're having. And same for me, like I am a big believer in following your heart, following your intuition. And as I mentioned, with, and it's all linked in now with what I wanted to do. I wanted to go into acting. So I first did English and drama. I wanted to go,
Oh, okay.
yeah,
So
I wanted
you
to go
did
straight.
study drama.
Yeah, I did. I wanted
Yeah.
to go to drama school, but then I thought I
Yeah.
had to add English in because it sounds a bit more
Right.
academic. I would
Of
have been
course.
happy. I would
Yeah.
have been more happy just to go straight to drama school. But it's okay, alhamdulillah. I did English and drama. And even throughout my university program, I always worked with kids. I think I naturally had this interest in working with children. So I used to do voluntary work. So then I thought, okay, I'm not going to go straight into acting because I wasn't really supported in that sense. But I've got a strong personality in that sense. If I really wanted to, I think I would have pushed myself. But I had another calling, and I knew teaching was my calling.
Right.
But again, interesting you asked that question, Artijan, because I think my family were a bit concerned when I said, oh, you know what, I've got more of an interest to work with those with disabilities and in more of the challenging schools in London, or those even that have students with different behavioural needs, because you get a lot of these, what we call PRUs in schools in London, people referral units. So those children that can't access mainstream education, a lot of their families or their parents are in jail or in, have committed crimes or something. So their behaviours are really off the handle. But I always had this thing. I was like, oh, I'm a bit of a rebel. I didn't become an actress. I don't want to become a normal teacher. I want to become that teacher with those with disabilities. So yes, I wasn't always given full support, but I went and I did it. And I'd always have friends go, oh, amazing. Yeah, thank you. I was like, this is great what you do. And I'm like, well, that's not really helpful for me because I don't want to feel like, oh, that's great, you do that. I just want to conversation.
You're not doing it for the credit. You're doing it just because this is what you want to do. Yeah.
You're right. That's exactly why I wanted to do it. But even now, I'm like, people say this to me, oh, it's amazing what you do. I'm like, oh, you know what? Just, it's nice, but I don't want people to feel sorry for the stars. I want them to see them for the amazing individuals they are.
Yeah. So how do you feel like inclusivity after all these years? Has it changed for the better in your eyes? Or are it just baby steps?
Well, as you know, I'm obviously stating the obvious, very passionate about this. But I want to say that within the Asian community, I can say, within our community as well, it's going to still take time to kind of give them a space. I've got so many stories I could say of how, things are not done how they should be done or done properly, and there is still that old mindset of, oh, they don't know, it's okay, leave them to the back. Why would you get them to have like a recital or give them that opportunity to have their voices heard? Because
there's a stigma behind it, right?
There's a stigma behind it. It might take that person 10 minutes to do the recital or do a performance, but it might take just someone else 2 minutes or 3 minutes, and then you think, well, aren't we meant to be a bit more tolerant? Aren't we meant to be compassionate, understanding, loving, open to all? And then I just think, well, there are maybe 10% of people or 20% of people that we come into contact that have that. I mean, I'm a bit harsh because I come in contact with a lot of people who just are in their own zone, so they don't show that kind of love the way I might do, but then I'm very different in that sense because this is the work I do. But I'm still seeing that there is change happening. Inclusion is becoming more of this hot topic that people are talking about.
Especially now.
Especially now, you have companies that have diversity and inclusion consultants or departments. I know in Canada, in the UK, even here in Dubai, you do have this kind of policy of having more people with different nationalities and abilities in their organization. But I still feel like there is a long way to go. I was in a live panel discussion with the Asian Literary Society last week. They're based in they're based in India. They've got about 15,000 members, and one of the ladies in Mumbai owns a special needs center. And she was saying how it's great how now these differently abled, and I mean, I still don't like that word, differently abled bodies
Determined, yes.
are more included in society. And I'm thinking, oh no, they're not. It's not. In Mumbai, you don't often. I mean, it is changing, but still, Mumbai, other countries, they're still not as inclusive as they should be. They still have a hard time getting a job or getting married. And I speak to some young students who live in India. You know, one boy in particular, he's a star. His name's Sagar. He's in a wheelchair. He's got osteogenesis imperfecta, which is that brittle bone disease. And he was like, he calls me Ria. Some of them call me Ria, as you know. He's like, Ria, will I ever get married? Will I ever get, you know, a wife? He's 26 and in a wheelchair. And he lives in Bangalore, and he's got a job, and he's very smart. But I'm just thinking, it's we have to be honest, it's still not where it should be.
No.
And I think that's the same thing with many issues that are, you know, women empowerment, equality,
right.
diversity. There's so many things that we can talk about for ages and say it's not where it should be. No. It's getting better, but there's a lot to do still.
Definitely. So where do you see yourself going? I know you want to continue this and continue not the fight, but the awareness of this topic. We talked about like just changing people's mindset about the way they view people of determination. So instead of looking at them and feeling sorry for them, they say, hey, I want to go talk to them and learn about them and just be kind. So where do you see rising stars, for instance, in the next 3 to 5 years?
Oh, well, I would love to see rising stars as a kind of a recognized not-for-profit, and fingers crossed we are in that process of getting recognized here. Yeah, fingers crossed we get that, because I think once you have that not-for-profit recognition status, you can you know, it's a whole different ball game, really. You know, it really helps. So what I'd like is to have that recognition as a not-for-profit entity that will not only work with stars in the GCC region, but also in the surrounding areas, and then maybe connect with stars in Canada or in Palestine, in Africa, in the UK, all around the world, so we can all come together as a global community and share our talent and also raise that awareness. Like, there might be a star in, I don't know, Syria who loves 18th century fashion as well. And Eloise over here, you know, this young French boy that I have as part of the star community, would be amazed to see this, or just even Sagar meeting someone else, and you know, even forming relationships. And I want to see these stars fall in love, get married, have jobs, live a normal life, even get paid for being on stage or selling their artwork. That's what I'd love to see, and I'd love to have my own center. That would be the dream come true.
Wow, I could see that happening. 100%, 100%. Would you do that in Dubai or in London? Are you planning on staying in Dubai? That's the question.
Well, you know what? Wherever destiny or God is meant to take me, I'll be there. You know, it might even be a whole different country. I went to Kenya a couple of years ago, and I worked with a lovely, lovely school who has a lot of children who are orphaned, as well as those with disabilities. And Mama Mercy is the name of the lady who runs it. She's also in a wheelchair and has had polio, so hence why she lost her leg. She always says to me, you have to come back, you've got to do some work. And that's when I feel, you know what, that's where the real work is. I hate to say that in that way, but I do feel real work in the sense that they have hardly any support.
Right.
So the kids are not even in proper wheelchairs. They don't wear proper shoes. They don't have proper sanitation, hygiene. You know how it is in these developing countries. So that would be incredible to then maybe partner up with a developing country where, such as Kenya, that needs support, and maybe we could then, oh my goodness, imagine the stars flying in, doing a show for them,
Oh.
they're coming here, because that's what it is. We're all about kind of fun, entertainment, talent,
Yeah.
everyone, passion. One of my students is obsessed with the weather. Hamudi, he's
Oh,
14. He
okay.
would meet me and he'd be like, right, the weather today in Calgary is minus
Yeah.
20. That's all he wants to do. He wants to talk about the weather. So we were like, okay, we'll give him platform to talk about the weather. And in front of Amir Khan, because
Yeah.
Amir, he went and asked all the stars at my event in December. He asked all the stars what they wanted to achieve, what their dreams were.
Right.
So Hamoodi's dad said he wants to be the weatherman. So then he said the weather that day. And then Amir Khan was like, okay, CNN, let's hire this boy. And this is another thing. I'm just trying to get celebrities involved, because we know the culture we live in. You
Yeah.
know, once you raise awareness, you've got to go, you know, through a lot of different channels to kind of show what you're doing. So that was a very long answer, sorry, but there's a lot I
Oh,
want to.
great.
I'd love to have a centre. I'd love more people to connect with the stars. I'd love to connect with more stars, and you know, we are a family, so I'd love more of the other team of Rising Stars to kind of come on platforms and discuss what we do, because a lot of people who've joined the family or joined the team never had any experience working with disabilities, but just kind of falling in love with the stars, as you naturally do. You want to kind of be part of the movement, which is, I've got to say, the most beautiful thing. So I'm very blessed to, you know, people like yourself and the other people that I know around the world, all my friends and new friends that really support Rising Stars, because I couldn't do it by myself.
Yeah. Is there anything you want to talk about that we've missed, perhaps?
I just want to put this out there. I think that a lot of friends, a lot of people who sometimes speak to me, that they, as I mentioned earlier with the trainers, they often say, and you probably know as well with having an uncle with Down syndrome, like, how should I approach
Mm-hmm.
them? What should I say? And you probably have been asked this question as well, right? What should I say to them? And all I want to say is, next time you see a person with a disability, to not judge them. Sometimes you have people who have autism who have sensory outbursts, in that you know, sensory overload. They don't want to be in a noisy environment. They're stimming, or you know, they've got headphones on, and you just think, oh, like, what's wrong with them? But no, they're doing that to kind of self-regulate. So I
Coping.
want people
Yeah.
I want people to kind of not judge, and then just even go over and just say hi if you can, or just give that loving hand to that parent, like I did to Yasmin many years ago, who was struggling with her daughter, because often that's all people need. They just need someone to say hi, have a laugh with them, and just to kind of support organizations and find out more about people with different abilities, disabilities, and support Rising Stars. I've got my t-shirt on. There we go.
Love it. I want one. Are you selling these? You should do a fundraiser on it.
I should. So thank you, honestly. Yeah, I'm just happy to talk about the journey and be the voice for these stars, and hopefully you'll get to meet them. Maybe you should do a
next trip to Dubai. How has the pandemic been for your students, and how are things over there affecting you guys?
So the first lockdown was really tough for a lot of them, because you had to stay indoors, there was no activities. I know one of my parents said to me that her young boy, Jacob, who's not so young, he's 18. I need to stop doing that because they're all like my babies.
Yes.
18. Jacob was literally at home for 3 months, and he got autism, he's got a lot of sensory needs, he needs to be outdoors as well, and it was really, really tough. But we continued during the pandemic. We did some online classes, we did a Bollywood dance class every week.
I saw that,
did a I did a conversation class with some of the girls, like the young girls in the group. Well, I always do that. They're not young. They're 16 to about 20.
Younger, yes.
But I guess the pandemic really was tough, as we know, for all of us, but especially those who've got a disability, who like a certain routine, they just couldn't understand it. But again, you're amazed at seeing how resilient they are and how adaptive a lot of them are. And, you know, just we sit here and sometimes then complain about not being able to do this or that or get on a flight. But luckily they found things to do. Not all of them. It's been tough. It has been tough. But Dubai, as you know, has been one of the countries to open up more than the other countries.
Yeah,
so
you guys are very lucky right now.
We are very lucky. So some of the centres have opened up again.
Right.
So they have a place like Dubai Centre for Special Needs where I used to work. They've opened up again.
Which is
so
nice. Yeah.
That's good. They're not bored at home then.
Oh.
And I still try and continue as much as I can. But again, I still have to be careful with the social distancing and keeping the mask on. Some of them don't understand. They don't want to keep a mask. Oh, they want to just come and hug you. And you're like, oh, it's a bit, I know.
Yeah.
It's tough. It's tough. And I want to hug them back. And then, it's tough because they don't understand what's going on. But overall, we're very lucky to be here. I know in other countries it has been really tough. As I mentioned, my friend in New Jersey, Autism Movement Project, their kind of center was shut for a long time.
Yeah.
And these had nowhere to go. We will start Zumba and yoga, and then I will start sharing stories like you are as well. You inspired me to of the stars and kind of their dough. So please do follow us. We do have an Instagram page.
I'll link it in all the descriptions on YouTube and on the podcast and on my blog and everything. So yeah, make sure you go and follow Rahima and Rising Stars and follow the journey. But I thank you so much for being here and speaking with me today. And like, I learned a lot about like your journey with it. I knew like bits and pieces, but now all the dots are connected. And like I said, I love what you're doing. And I think you have this huge impact that maybe you do or don't realize, but there's a huge impact. You're making a difference. So I commend you on that.
Thank you. You're making me emotional.
I know, me too.
Oh my goodness. Oh, that was so beautiful what you said to me. I honestly, sometimes I don't realize because it's just so full on sometimes. And when you stop and you talk about it, and thank you as well for giving me this platform to discuss it, I'm just like, wow, you know what? It is a really amazing journey that I've been on. And I have the stars to thank because they have given me a gift in this life that I don't think anyone else can give me. You can give me any kind of materialistic thing and I would just be like, I don't want that. Or anything else. I mean, I would just be like, I don't want this. I want to be around them. And I think I'm very, very lucky that I have this with them because they are just so wonderful. Honestly, they're wonderful. And I'm happy that I have this calling in life. And this is why I probably also, as you, the reason why you opened or started this podcast is to kind of give this opportunity to young people to follow their dream and see other people's stories. It is so important to follow what you want to do. Be that if you're a star of determination or just a rising star, no matter what resistance you get in life, the main kind of phrase I always say to people is never to give up, because it's so tough, I feel, these days to kind of follow what you want to do because of external forces sometimes. I mean, you do have families now that are more supportive. I work in education and you see more and more families are like, oh, okay, my child wants to be this or that, it's fine. And I think that's what I would really love to see more of as well, and more change makers.
Mm-hmm.
We need the next generation to be, you know, doing a lot more in society and within their communities. And it is great to see. I do see some really amazing young people working in, you know, sustainability, or
Mm-hmm.
working with animals who need rescuing, or, you know, as you know as well, in this work, or work. And that's what we really need, the younger generation, not to be just into their phones and their,
They
you
need
know.
to step up for the greater good. And I think I'm starting to see a lot of it, but there's always more we can do as a society. So yeah, if this encourages someone to do that, then great.
Yeah, of course.
I hope at the very least, even this episode encourages more people to be open and be
Yeah,
kinder and speak to people that they otherwise might not have in the past.
exactly. Yeah, include them more into their circle, or even go out of your way and just say hi, how are you, as you say, you know, to the person at the coffee shop, because you don't realize what impact that would do to someone.
Mhm.
And as I keep mentioning as well, it doesn't have to also be a person with disability. It can be a person that, you know, you sometimes often wouldn't go out of your way to talk to,
Mhm.
because maybe the color of their skin or their sexual orientation or something, and you just think, oh, why would I want to them?
Yeah.
But we're all human at the end of the day. We're all connected. And once you start going on that kind of path, and you realize, you know what, he or she is just like me. You know, we did the same things. We're very similar in that sense, right? You know, I just think you realize how similar we are rather than the opposite.
Mhm.
And even having different needs and different kind of interests, I should say, actually, that's a beautiful thing as well. You know, learning about one another, and, you know, just maybe go out of your way to kind of, as I always say, just you know, take that time. That's basically what I want to say.
Yeah.
Take that time that you might not have to speak to someone different, who's
Ex-
not so different.
Exactly. Yeah. No, exactly. I think that's a good place to wrap up. But yeah, thanks, Rahima, for being here today. It's bright and sunny where you are, so enjoy the sunshine for the rest of us. But yeah, thank you so much, and I wish you the best. And I'm really excited to see what else goes on with Rising Stars and all your stars down there. So yeah, definitely keep that content coming.
Thank you so much. It was wonderful to talk about this, and it's great that you are, you know, so open to having this discussion, and you
Absolutely.
have a fantastic platform. So
Thank
I'm really, really happy to be a part of it. So yeah, thank you,
you. Of
and
course.
see you very soon.
Yes,
Uh,
sounds good.
yeah, that was amazing.
Good. Thanks everyone for listening, and we'll see you in the next episode. Take care. This is what's confusing is, do I look at the camera straight on? Do I turn this way or do I turn this way?
Yeah, straight on. Let's do straight on, and we can take another one. Okay, ready?